Hello, welcome to the Bill and Kelly Show from Sip Coffee 2 in Highland, Indiana. I'm Bill Moran.
I'm Kelly Rosella.
And with us we have a very special guest today, Alaina Polen, who is the current Highland Poet Laureate. And welcome to our show. And Alaina is a Highland resident, and she's also a 2015 Highland High School graduate.
Go Trojans, woo!
Yeah, and she's currently a senior at IU Northwest.
Yes.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then, if you will, tell us a little bit about the Highland Poet Laureate and what your position does, and so on.
When I was younger, I wrote a lot of poetry. My mom actually has like a framed poem that I wrote in the 5th grade because I wrote it after my great-grandmother died. And I knew her, but I guess not too personally, but I based off of everything my mom told me about her because she was very Polish and like had a farm and made amazing food all the time and things like that. I wrote a poem out of that, and my mom sent it to my grandmother, who then like framed it with a picture of me and my great-grandmother.
Sweet.
So I've been writing poetry for a long time, but I got away from it because I guess I just felt like the era of poetry had passed, because in school you really study like old poets. You don't study anything contemporary at all. And so I felt it wasn't something I could ever do. But then in college there was a poetry class and I decided to take it, and I got back into it. And it's funny too because I was a nursing major at the time, and the first day when I introduced myself as a nursing major, my professor made a comment about how I might not be that good at poetry. And by the end of the semester, he said I'd really surprised him, and he told me I should consider being an English major. And a part of me had always wanted to be an English major, but I felt there was a stigma about it, and so I did nursing and I did biology because I'm interested in the medical field.
Sure.
And that's just like an obvious good job, you know? But English was what I wanted to do, and it kind of took somebody telling me like it's okay to be an English major.
That's right, and you'd be good at it, you know?
It's my good. People ask me now how school is going, and I'm like, it's amazing. I'm really I love school. I love it, especially with my English classes, because they're just exactly what I like to do.
Awesome. So it's something in childhood you had the bug for, and then it got shelved, and next thing you know in college you're back in it. It's awesome. So tell us a little bit about how you became the Highland Poet Laureate, and then explain to us a bit about what the program is.
So again, with the stigma about being an English major, I was reluctant to tell my parents. But when I eventually did, my mom, who follows like all of Highland's Facebook pages and knows what's going on in the town, told me about the Poet Laureate position and told me to apply. And I really appreciated that she was encouraging me to do something in the realm of poetry.
Yeah.
Because it just felt like she completely understood my passion for it. So I sent in an application. It involved 5 poems that I picked and an essay that I wrote about how I could make a good poet laureate, and I was chosen.
Awesome. And that was right around April of 2018, right?
Yes.
All right. And then as you're telling us that that's a 2-year term, that you're the first 2-year term, is that correct? Awesome.
The 2 previous poet laureates were only 1-year terms, but to be fair, they did more with the position than I have thus far.
Yeah, maybe.
But I'm working on it.
Yeah, there you go.
Now, what exactly does it entail to be the Poet Laureate of Highland?
Pretty much you just kind of want to remind the community that poetry is definitely a contemporary thing. So how I was discouraged because I felt like all the poets were dead. It's just bringing art back into the community of Highland, which I think is wonderful, what Highland does.
Absolutely.
And how they chose to have the Poet Laureate position. So we are supposed to organize events just to get people in the mind of poetry.
Sure.
Like I attended the Sip and Slam, which was an event that was organized by the Poet Laureate previous to me, which was here at SIP.
That's so wonderful.
And I should probably do something like that again, because
Well,
I hear
I'm
that
sure you
SIP
will.
is definitely willing to to let you
Oh, yeah,
have
they-
your
They're
events
awesome.
here.
They're very supportive of the arts.
Yes,
and
very much.
Yeah, so yeah, I imagine that would be
And then
great.
you said you read a poem at a veterans event.
Yes. I was invited by the Timothy Bell chapter to perform a poem there. So I did that.
Now, do you go to the elementary schools and talk to any of the kids about poetry?
I
or-
will. That
Okay.
is definitely my intention.
Okay.
I have lots of younger sisters and lots of elementary and middle school and high school teachers that love me and would definitely let me go in and talk to
Yeah,
their
I
classes.
think that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I would love to do that too. It's just a matter of contacting people, getting it organized.
And the fact that you're a senior in college, I mean, it takes a little bit of time, there's
Yeah.
classes and things you have to do as well.
yeah.
Well, it must be refreshing to have your old teachers pick up some of your work and want you back, because I'm pretty sure none of my teachers would want me back after reading some of mine.
I'm pretty
In fact,
darn
some
sure
of
you're
it,
correct.
Yeah, some of it I got in trouble for, if I remember correctly.
Oh no.
Yeah. I pushed the envelope a little bit on what was acceptable in the 8th grade. So, but we won't cover that, will we? So all right. So, really, your position really is to go out and evangelize poetry and through events, whether they go into elementary or through having like a poetry contest or what have you. So do you have any examples with you, some of your poetry that you would like to read? Maybe you just do one at a time and we'll talk about it.
Sure thing.
Great.
So, I think I'm gonna start with this poem that's called "There Is No Lord." I hear its words, but rotting flesh cannot speak. I've heard of delirium tremens, but never delirium epilepticus. How can it produce sound when it's just a head? The insects are digesting us as we speak. And when the jungle burns and necks crack, where's our deus ex machina?
Now, what inspired that poem for you?
That poem is very much about the Lord of the Flies, if you've ever read that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's
you had
one
to
of
in
my
school.
favorites. I adore it. So the poem just kind of visits a lot of events in the book, and I like it because out of context it sounds really bizarre.
It's eerie.
Yeah.
Like, it makes a lot of
Some
sense
imagery
in
that-
context.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
not knowing that it's about Lord of the Flies, like, I presented it to a class one
Then
time.
you're just
and-
like, boy, she's dark.
pretty much.
Well, subject nature.
That's true.
Oh boy. So yeah, I love the imagery in that is just fascinating.
Yeah.
So you have something else you want to share with us too?
Definitely. This is called Vital Beat. The ox sat, your chest rise, your fingers flash pink. When you let go, the vital beat you hear, and it's annoying. You've never been the music type. How long can you hold your breath? How slow can you make your vital beat? I'm sorry you must go on, but relight your cigarette and spend all your calories on chasers. Make sure reality is never less than a step away. And when your time comes, don't tell me goodbye. That'd make you the caring type.
Ooh.
Wow, nice.
What inspired that one?
Working in a hospital?
I was just going to say, I mean, that's very like somebody who was going into nursing.
Yeah.
The vital beat. Yeah.
Oh boy. Now, so let's talk about, because you look at today, and you're right. Probably one of the reasons they have this position is because you have the old poets, or a lot of them refer to as the dead poets,
Right.
And you just don't. I guess it's the popularity of poetry has declined, except in rap, of course. A lot of official poets don't view that as a part of the art form. But what is your opinion about that? Is it that you think it's an extension of poetry, or
Rap.
like rap
songs and things,
Rap.
kind of.
Well, music in general, I think, is definitely poetry.
Mm-hmm.
There's one poet that I love. His name is George Watsky. He became famous by like a viral YouTube video where he raps quickly. He grew up in San Francisco, like Poetry City, you know, and so he's won poetry slams, great poetry slams in San Francisco. And the way that he's gone in his career is he raps. He makes rap music. And it's wonderful. It really is. And he's not the only one where there's one rapper, his name is Aesop Rock, and I don't like the way he sounds, but I read his songs just like I would read any poem.
Right.
So I definitely think they belong in the sphere. But there's always more superficial rap songs where it's
of course
not wonderful poetry.
Lacking
the imagery and some of the context that you would have in a normal poem.
But I don't think that makes it less of a poem. When people tell me they don't like poetry, I'm like, I think you just don't understand that you like poetry, because there's something for everybody. So there are really deep poems where you have to sit there and you have to pretty much write out notes to kind of even digest this that's in front of you. And other ones are just thrown right at you. It depends on how much the poet wants to make its audience work. So if they kind of just want people to be able to enjoy it in a lighter sense, it can be superficial, and it doesn't make it less of poetry. It's still definitely poetry.
I know my stepmother was a published poet, and she had some of her works in the Times. They picked it about once a month. They put people's works in there. And the thing that made us nervous is that she really got into depth. Like whenever she wrote a poem that included one of us, we're all sitting on the edge of our seat like, okay, what is she? and yeah, actually I was in one of her poems. It was in the Times.
What was it called? That jerky little kid?
It had something to do with Christmas. No, it was Christmas, and how I used to run down and try to get into the presents
early.
Before it was time.
Okay.
And then she kept on referring to me as Billy, the anxious child.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Now I got to look it up. I got to find
Actually,
that poem.
I've got it.
You got it somewhere, I'm sure. I got to see that.
Yeah. So, you want to share? You have one more, right?
Okay, it's called Soundtown. With his unplanned hands, he plays with the waves in your ears in a way that takes you through this place. The town is full of slitted sidewalks and saluting children running down the block. They stop me in the street and ask me what's that on your feet, and I remove what they called pedal gloves, and ran until I had had enough. The bottom of my heels were sore, and then we had to take report. And his eyes, which were a surprise, they leaked, and then my lips lifted upward as I laughed. We wrote a new draft, and then we began to mock what other people thought was luck. We built something that was kind of cruel out of what the town deemed beautiful. The benefits and withdrawals, but still rest the war peace they scrawled. The torso exists without kissing, but forces the gesture to be missing.
Ooh, I like that. It's gorgeous.
Thank you.
So, on typical poem, I mean, what is it? With a lot of artists, they just don't sit down and say, I'm going to come up with a poem. I mean, what is your process like? Is it just something that pops in your head and then you have to sketch it down or write it down in a
I love having my phone because there are so many notes that I've written down places that will never get written again because they're lost. They've disappeared. Or I didn't have something to take down a thought, so it's gone.
Right.
But with my phone, I have 2 documents on Google Docs, and one of them is called Scraps, and the other is called Grass is Growing, which is just where my final drafts go. Okay. So Scraps is where I just throw things. When people say things that I find interesting and kind of want to dive into, I take it down there. If I think of something, if I know that I want to do more research into something because I think it could get me to write, I put it there. It's just like my inspiration document. So that's where I go when I'm looking for something because I have to write or I want to write, and I pull things from there. And
So it's kind of what you just described to me. The analogy that I came up with is one is like if an artist pellet where they have the paints and so on, and the other is the actual canvas that you put the paint onto.
I like that analogy.
Yeah, so that's what I came up with.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I'm not really an engineer. I'm really a starving artist. Artiste.
An artiste.
No, that's great. So that's.
And I love the fact that everybody, I think, at some point in time thinks that all poetry has to rhyme.
Oh yeah, that's definitely something.
Roses
that
are red and violets are blue, or it has to be iambic pentameter, like a Shakespeare play or a sonnet and everything. And it doesn't have to be. It can flow very beautifully, just like a story, like yours do.
Okay.
I mean, it's just beautiful.
Help me. Is there a name for that? The poetry that doesn't rhyme. It's just like a story. Is it, or am I just envisioning?
She's
trying to.
the poet.
Yeah. Are you?
Generally, I write in free verse, so I don't worry about
There you go.
rhymes or meter
Free
or
bird.
anything.
Oh wait, free verse.
And that actually, for me, when I was in high school taking a lit class, that was the most difficult because I always wanted to rhyme, and I get to the second verse, and I'm like, okay, just do it. Put something down.
Yeah,
and
I'm sure.
Yeah, put something down, and that was I struggled with that one. But yeah, the other, it's kind of like the flow and the rhythm that you want to generate, not the rhyme. And, I was trying to rhyme things. Come on.
Well, because you grow up with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nursery rhymes and things like that are
that's true.
little bits of poetry kind
we
of.
still say nursery rhymes.
Well, that's true.
Yeah.
That's very true. So, you're majoring in English.
Yes.
What are your goals after school?
So I will be graduated in December, and I should be applying right now to get into grad schools. So I'm thinking I'm going to do a master's degree in fine arts and specialize in poetry. But there's so much that I have to put into it because I want to research the professors that I'll be studying under.
Sure.
So that I know that I like their work, and I know that there's somebody that can really influence me.
So you don't have any specific schools picked out yet?
No, not
waiting
yet.
until you see who are the professors at those different
research.
schools. Absolutely.
So, have you ever thought about publishing, putting your books in a book?
This past semester I did work with my poetry professor at IU Northwest, and just it was an independent study. So I would bring in poetry and I'd show it to him, I'd read it, and we'd talk about it, and he'd give me suggestions. And the goal at the end of the semester was to have a book. I've written 300 or so poems. I could easily make a book. I guess it's just a matter of, most books have like sections. Yeah, there are themes and there are sections, and so I've got something kind of organized, but it's not ready just yet.
Nice. And then once you go to grad school, then what are your plans? What do you hope to do with this profession of yours?
I'm so inspired by the professors that I have at IU Northwest, and that's exactly what I want to do.
I want to inspire future poets and future authors and writers and English majors. That's awesome. That's wonderful.
In a sense, that's an ideal world because you can still publish and teach.
Yeah.
And in fact, at some point, I think that they require you to be published if you go on.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. So is there anything else you want to share? Is there something coming up? You said that you're going to be working on some things or putting things together.
The For You Art House is a wonderful place that is offered to host my poetry readings.
Oh, great. I love that place.
Will occur. The plan is to do it every third Thursday of the month. So it's just, it's a consistent thing so people know, oh, it's the third Thursday, I could go to the art house and there will be poetry readers there. Right. It's just a matter of contacting people who are available to be them, like to be my guest of honors at the art house. But Mary Beth Labarsky has been really awesome about offering up the art house to me. She was my freshman English teacher.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah. So
very cool.
I've known her for a long time, and she is really awesome, and
Yes.
was super excited to hear about my position.
Yes, very nurturing person, and I think that's great. What an exciting thing. Well, we need to know when that's happening,
Yes.
so we can tell our viewers about it, and then so we can go.
Yeah, let us help you promote it.
When
Yeah.
it's
Please.
finalized, it will be published on the Highland Poet Laureate Facebook
Okay,
page.
great.
All right.
And
there's
share.
a Highland Poet Laureate Facebook page.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, see,
that's
these
how I
are
got in
things we
contact
need
with
to
you.
know.
Yeah.
So
And
they
guess
just
what
go
it's
to
called?
the Highland Poet Laureate Facebook page. Got it. So you can just go there
Isn't that
and find out
amazing
what's
how
going
those
on
things
with
happen?
Alaina. I know. So you can just follow that and find out what's going on. So when you publish your first book, it'll go on there and everybody will know. We could run out and buy it over at Miles Bookstore because I'm sure they'll carry it.
And you're also on Twitter. I saw that you're,
Yeah.
because we have a Twitter account for the show, so I tagged you in there as well. So,
Also, I lost your number.
so that's great.
That's very exciting.
Thank
well,
you.
yeah, and we're excited to have you on the show.
Yes,
This is,
thank you so
we
much.
I was
feel
happy to be here.
dignified now. Like
I know. That's right. She's like the Maya Angelou of Highland.
Yeah, really.
That's a great title. I don't know that I deserve it.
Oh yeah, you do. You're Highland's very own.
Yeah, well, this is great. The fact that they picked someone so young, I think, is inspiring, and that and it really to inspire some people that are just on the edge. What should I do? And
It shows younger
poetry
kids
is
that that's there. You know, that
Yeah.
they see somebody who's a lot older. Sometimes they'll just be like, oh, it's my mom, or just like my aunt, or whatever. But seeing somebody young and vibrant and excited about something like that is
Do you remember
just
the age of
wonderful.
the beatniks where they used to sit around and crack
yes,
their fingers and read poems?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
We could
basically
bring
a
that
poetry
era back
slam.
again.
Yeah.
Get
well,
some
I'll get some little berets, and
Berets
we'll all
and
sit here and
we'll
snap our
do
fingers
black,
for her.
Black
turtlenecks.
turtlenecks
Yep.
and
Yeah.
the guy softly
With the
playing the
bongos.
bongo in
Yes.
the background.
I like it.
She's probably, what the heck are they talking
Oh,
about?
no,
You know?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. Yeah.
She's seen those old movies.
That's like, yeah. In fact, there was a series on TV about a beatnik that's what he did.
well, Dobie Gillis's friend did that, I know, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a series about a beatnik. But
Well, listen, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate it and hope to have you on again. And
Absolutely.
And please share
gonna
any
follow
events that
your
are coming
career.
up. Yeah. And we feel important now.
we do. We've had
felt-
Mike Griffin and Highlands Poet Laureate on.
That's right. We'll wrap up another show, and we wish you all a very safe weekend.